your documents to see whether you can give us a flavor, an example of some of the things Yaya Jammeh would write.
Balanjon noppale ko jëm doon seet ci sa biir kayit yi ndax diñ ci mun a gis dara loo xam ne diñ ñu ko mun a woon ci mbir yoo xam ne Yaya Jammeh daan na ko bind ci ron kayit yi ngeen ko daan yóbbu.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Lead counsel, I want to show you an example of what you are asking. That is the language President Jammeh used, former President Jammeh used to address some of us. Here is a minute that the principal assistant secretary at the time sent through me to His Excellency.
Principal Secretary bi minute yi nga xamne mom lañ bindon ay cadeau jaarale ko ci man mu dem ci president bi.
And in reply he also wrote a minute.
Si tontu nak mu bind fa.
Despite the fact that he approved of what we requested to him, from him, he said, he wrote to me, PS, if you present any minute with such type to me,
so
you will regret it.
So indeed, minute
then he wrote NB stroke PS.
Hello. Let's go back let's take it back again and have a better interpretation.
Okay. Then he said, if you present any minute with such to me, so you will regret it.
So bindate minute yu melni comme ci anam gi dang ko reccu
comme bo ma bindalate xibaar yu melni ding ko reccu.
Then he wrote NB SG stroke PS, send her home. In fact, because this is unacceptable, full stop. Fire her as an example to others, not like her.
Pinana NB mu ne ko mu yónne yóbbu ko mu na génne ko dàq ko comme ni ñeneen.
These minutes I secretly photocopied.
Minutes yi nag dama ko photocopy ci secret.
I wanted to write a memoir or something, or maybe an occasion like this would come.
Dama bëggoon a bind nag
if you explain to people, they will believe. And here's a photostat copy of one of these with such language written to me for other staff. This was a lady who was suckling, and I passed her the file to write the minute, and she sent it through me, and it went. He couldn't accept it.
Li nak jigen la jo xamne ni jamono joju mu ngay nampal ci la bind nak li mu daldi ko jaarale ko ci mom.
Please let me take a quick look. From this document, are you able to tell what was Yaya Jammeh's concern?
Ci kayit bi ni ndax ding ci mëna wax Yaya Jammeh mom lan la ci jublu won?
Lan ko ci metti won? Ba tax mu wax ju metti ji le.
I don't really remember because it's a long time. Probably it could have been the language.
Well, says here that Your Excellency's kind attention is being drawn to folio 30 and minutes 27 and 28 on file in relation to search and rescue exercise. Mattered Ensign Kana Connolly. I don't know what Mattered Ensign Kana Connolly means. Maybe Kana Connolly is not English. Maybe it's either an acronym or just a name that is given to the search and rescue operation. But take a look at it again. Maybe you can find, decipher the problem Jame had with this. Just a moment, Mr. Chair, I'll send it to you.
Go ahead, yes. But while he's doing that, probably can help us with context as well. The commissioners can see the document later on.
Thank you.
But if you can provide context.
A bit of context and just a bit of background, and then we
precisely.
This was supposed to have been a search and rescue exercise.
With
partner security services. I think this was a civil defense. It had to deal with the fire service and the military together. And the military were being asked to nominate 1 or 2 candidates. So he was being requested to, you give in 2 or 3 names, and he chooses from them. That's why he said, any one of these above officers can go. CDS to call on the above.
So he was not satisfied perhaps with the manner in which, or the language in which the minute was written.
Yes. I should think so, yes. I remember.
But of course, you know that to write, like the person's ability to write, to a considerable extent, depends on the person's education or level of education.
She was a PAS at the time.
PAS la won ci jamono bobu.
Assistant secretary.
Principal assistant secretary.
But you would agree that the person's ability to write to a considerable extent would depend on the person's level of education.
Indeed.
Wow.
And would it be fair to say that Yaya Jammeh expected a very high level of writing and reading skills?
Yaya Jammeh mo ngi sentu nak yenen anam mi façon ngi bindin yo xamne yu kowe la yo xamne ci anam yu for la doon ñu ko mëna bindé ak ñu ko jangé.
That is what he expected in this minute.
Hejna loolu la doon sentu ci xibaar yi bindani.
This was a very simple minute.
Minute bu simple bu yomb la won rek.
So it didn't implicate any detailed issues as PS or DPS. We wouldn't want to involve a PAS to write any complicated minute. It was a few lines.
Well, we are talking about Yaya Jammeh's expectations. You told us that when you write something, he would check your commas, your punctuation, and all that. So he expected a high standard.
Yes, indeed.
Well,
ñu ngi wax li nga xamne mom la Yaya Jammeh doon sentu parce que ci gannaaw tuuti wax nga fi ne boko bindale dara dina seet anam yi nga ko bindé fa nga dalé fa nga ékaté xejna mom tam yu mel nonu la doon sentu ci xibaar yoy ñu bindoon
mu ngi doon sentu mu na binda bu kowe ci ñi liggéey ci nguur gi.
Lu amna.
That's what happened.
Lu amna.
But the fact of the matter is, isn't that really foolish considering the fact that the recruitment policy of government at the time signaled the very opposite.
ndax loolu du doon mbir moo xam ne nag lu doy waar la ndaxte soo ko seetloo
lu ñàkk a fula la lu ñàkk a solo
ni nga xam ne noonu lañ daan jëlee liggéeykat yi ci anam boobu dafa ute ak façon bii nii.
Council could have been right, you know.
waaw mun naa nekk dëgg nag.
could have been right or council is right.
mun naa nekk dëgg wala council dëgg la.
All right, council is right.
waaw kon dëgg la.
Well, it has to be about the content, really, of the proposition. Let's take a look at the NIA. That would take us to the next topic we wanted to discuss. That is the recruitment policy of the NIA.
léegi nañ seet ci mbiri NIA loolu dinañu mun a yóbbu ba ci beneen fànn bi nga xam ne moom lañ bëgg a waxtaanee mooy ni nga xam ne noonu la ñoo jëlee liggéey ay nit ci NIA.
A lot of the NIA officers, senior NIA officers, including directors general, had no qualification higher than secondary 4.
ñi nga xam ne ñoo nekk ci NIA bokk na ci sax ñi nga xam ne nekk nañ directeur général jiite NIA yëpp seen maxaama ci seen wàlli njànga weesuwul fi ñoo secondary 4.
Agreed.
nangu naa.
Isn't that a tragedy?
It was worse than a tragedy.
Maybe you have better words to describe it.
Well, this is something I found there. And sometimes officers are sent over to the NIA for enlistment from the State House.
State House.
Allow for the interpretation to complete.
Sorry. Sometimes they are moved from the police or the military.
With
orders.
NIA is the institution we have seen where the security guards are promoted all the way to director.
NIA rek moy liggéey kay bo xamné ñi nga xamné ay security guard la ñi garder sax dinañ jël yokk seen maxama bam ko be tollu ci place directeur.
That was not during my time.
Lool nak du ci suma jamono.
It used to happen.
Why daan na am.
It has happened.
Amna.
But this is supposed to be an intelligence institution.
This
is supposed to be at the heart of government. Doing some of the most sensitive intellectual work for the government. Wherein information is gathered in the most unconventional ways and analyzed, and out of which policy decisions are taken to advance the government. Isn't it that's what it's supposed to do?
It is.
li ma wax mooy ne liggéey la boo xam ne ay xibaar yu bari la ñuy dajale yoo xam ne niñ koo dajalee utee naag comme rek ni nga dajalee xibaar ci ay jéego yu doy waar la ñuy jël pour dajale xibaar yooyu ñu war koo tojaat ko pour génnee si ay xameel yoo xam ne mooy tax nguur gi jël matuwaay yi mu war a jël loolu doon lu war a doy waar loolu liggéey borom xam-xam la. Do you agree with that?
I do.
Nanguna.
But look at the NIA. A lot of the people who were recruited into the service had no more than secondary 4 certificates.
Why settle NIA na ñi ci ëpp yëpp ñi daan jël liggéey foofu amuñ maxaama bu weesu secondary school certificate.
That is true.
Loolu dëgg la.
Isn't that a terrible disappointment?
It was when I first took over in March 2006.
Very March 2006.
I met
la fekk
a new batch of recruits
batch bu es boo xam ne ñu ngi leen a jël si liggéey
that were just enlisted
yoo xam ne dañ leen bind es rek
the marina.
ci marina.
They had not even undergone the simplest of training, which is the tradecraft.
ñoo xam ne nii sax commencé guñ njàng mi gën a suufee ci wàlli liggéey bi.
About 150.
lu dem si téeméer ak juróom fukk.
And I embarked on an institutional reform.
te tamit jamono jooju maa ngi doon nekk nag ci mbiri wëlbati wàlli bunti liggéeykaay wecceeku yoo xam ne dañ ko fay def.
But I couldn't complete it.
waaye nag mënu moon koo sottal.
Why?
Events of the 2006 coup.
ndek xew-xew bi nga xam ne ni mu ngi amoon ci 2002 coup bi amoon.
Overtook that exercise.
moom nag moo jël nag liggéey boobu yëpp.
And I was eventually removed before I completed the job.
gannaaw loolu nag ci lañ ma fa génnee balaa ma doon sottal nag liggéey boobu.
But it's exactly what lead counsel said.
waaye nag mooy li lead counsel wax.
I mean, isn't it counterintuitive to recruit people who had no significant qualification, yet you expect the highest level of performance from them?
ndax lii amul jaamaaroo boo xam ne mu ngi ci nga jël nit liggéey koo xam ne xam-xamam dafa néew nga séntu nag mu def liggéey boo xam ne borom xam-xam yu kawe ñoo ko war a def.
To a certain degree,
ci yenn maqaama yi.
it was more or less like a dumping ground.
dafa mel ni rek béréb la boo xam ne nii tuureekaay la.
But the NIA was, yes, okay, dumping ground from other institutions. But the foreign affairs was even worse because the NIA people were dumped into foreign affairs afterwards.
waa dëgg la NIA moom béréb la comme mbalit la woon rek dañoo nga jëlee nit fële rek ñoo sànni la fa waaye nag bunta bi saytu woon diggante réew mi bitim réew ñoo gënoon na bon sax ndaxte ñoomi tamit dañ daan jëlee ay nit NIA rek sànni leen fa.
True or false?
Indeed.
dëgg la.
True?
True.
dëgg la.
I have seen a statement yesterday
am na kàddu gu bind boo xam ne gis naa ko démba.
of someone who had only secondary 4 certificate.
koo xam ne moom kay certificate secondary 4 rek la am.
Grew to be senior officer at NIA.
ñu jël ko yóbbu ko mu amee maxaami kilifa ci NIA.
And moved to Morocco or Taiwan as counselor and head of mission.
ñu yóbbu ko Morocco ndax Taiwan def ko counselor mu jiite ña nga xam ne ñoo fa teewal réew mi.
I know.
What would you say to that?
loo am pour wax ci loolu.
Successive DGs.
yenn DG yi nga xam ne ni sottal nañ.
Picked up their boys.
dañuy jël seen nit ñi.
And relatives.
ay mbokk.
And sent them to foreign affairs.
dal di leen yóbbu nag ci yenn foreign affairs ci bitim réew.
For eventual posting.
pour nag ñu dal di fa liggéey.
As a NIA liaison officer in the embassy.
ñu dal di fa toogal NIA ci embassy boobu.
There's a provision to post an NIA officer in
na
most of the embassies.
pour jëm ci wàlli yóbbu ay NIA ci embassy yi.
And the budgetary allocations are independent from that of foreign affairs.
tamit nag li nga xam ne mooy pay bañ ca war a génne du bokkut ak.
Drawn from the NIA's budget.
ñu ngi koy génne ci njëli NIA bi.
This is why they send their people.
They
rise up, and when you go, you send somebody to an embassy. Our embassies most of the time are understaffed.
tamit boo jëlee ay nit yóbbu leen ci embassy ñaare dañ dee manqué liggéey nit.
At the end of the day,
ci mujjantal gi.
the liaison officer is the one who is left there.
ki nga xam ne ni moo fa teewal NIA moom lañ fay mujjee bàyyi.
Rather than post somebody new from Foreign Affairs Banjul.
ni jëlee koo xam ne nii mu ñu ko jëlee foreign affairs ci Banjul.
A liaison officer is just automatically elevated.
ki nga xam ne moo fa toogal NIA bi moom dañ koy ekkati rek aj ko ca kaw.
So in a sense the position of a trained diplomat.
bon nag place ki nga xam ne diplomate la buñ jàngal.
who under the general orders must have a minimum qualification of bachelor's degree.
ko xam ne ci ni mu war a demee war naa am maxaama lum néew li ñoo wax bachelor's degree.
It's now given to a secondary 4 holder.
léegi ñu jox ko koo xam ne xam-xami secondary 4 la am.
From the NIA.
bàyyee ko NIA.
The irony here is, lead counsel, I won't hide it.
I
have seen it.
Gis nako.
You sent a liaison officer to Senegal.
Yoni ko xamne ni mo fay togal NIA ci Senegal ci embassy bi nekké Dakar.
You said he is
comme ni nga ko waxee.
secondary 4 graduate.
mu ngi maqama mu ngi toll rek ci secondary 4.
Doesn't even have a command of the English language.
Ko xamne ni làkk anglais bi sax setut ko.
Let alone French.
Niki sax làkkam français.
Is not good in English, in Wolof.
Déggu Wolof.
And you post him to Senegal.
Nga dal di ko yóbbu ni dëkk bu mel ni Sénégal.
What do you expect of that guy?
Loo séntu ci kooku.
And invariably,
te itamit
even whereas the DG who posted him there has been changed,
te itamit bu fekkee ne directeur bi nga xam ne moo ko fa ebal sax dal dinañ ko wecci.
You can't touch him.
Mënuloo koo laal.
Why is that?
Lu tax doo ko mën a laal.
I don't know. Various.
Of course, Mr. Sambou, you do know.
It hasn't happened in
don't,
time.
You cannot hide behind I don't know. Call a spade and speak it out.
We are coming.
I
won't hide. You can be rest assured, lead counsel.
Thank you. See, call it as it is. Why can't such people be touched?
The affinities. Their affinities.
What affinities?
Sometimes.
These things are not in the abstract.
Sometimes family.
Family, yes.
You just mentioned tribe.
Tribe? No, I didn't mention.
No, not here. In your introduction to the issues to be discussed.
Okay, yes. Tribe.
That's an inference to that. And sometimes friendship. But then with the frequent changes in leadership in the NIA, nothing was permanent. And so deployments, transfers, and so on ended up jumbled up. There was real need for institutional reform in that place. But then with the interference from above,
all these changes would not have happened without Jammeh's knowledge.
Of course.
He must have given tacit or expressed approval.
Lead counsel. A witness here from the NIA said the NIA was under the office of the president. The NIA was Yaya Jammeh's baby. Nothing happened inside the NIA.
I think you are putting it nicely. It was Yaya Jammeh's tool. It was his tool, would you agree?
Of course.
Wow.
In fact, from day one, it was his tool to perpetrate the worst human rights violations against Gambians. Could you answer now?
Yes.
Wow.
You agree with that?
Of course I agree.
And let's talk about when you first entered the NIA and the violations that happened very early on. Of course, we take cognizance of the fact that the NSS morphed into the NIA.
Yes.
And at the outset, you were director of administration and finance, isn't it?
Director of administration and finance.
Yes. Even from that early on, the NIA was used as an institution to torture people in order to get what Yaya Jammeh wanted.
NIA dañ ko jëlon rek def ko jumtuwaay boo xam ne dañu mbugal nit ñi di leen mitital pour am rek ci ñoom li nga xam ne moom la Yaya Jammeh soxla ci ñoom.
True or false?
Dëgg la wala déet?
Dëgg la.
The thing is, this is being video recorded.
Yes.
And aired. If you answer out of turn, Your answer would not be captured because the camera would be focused on somebody else.
I'm sorry.
So I'll put the question again. Even at the outset, the early 90s or mid-90s, Yaya Jammeh used the NIA as a tool to get what he wanted. It was used as an institution to torture Gambians to get whatever it is that he wanted. Is that true or is it false?
Wow, dëgg la.
May I comment?
May
I elucidate?
Please go ahead.
Lead Counsel, the primary function of an intelligence gathering institution,
Lead Counsel
security intelligence institution, is to gather intelligence. Look into threats against the state. If you look at other institutions in the neighboring countries or the US or UK,
so seete nag yu ngeen liggéeykaay ci yeneen dëkk yu ñu jege wala ci United States wala ci UK bi,
you will find out that they have adequate independence.
da ngay gis ne daal ñoom wéeruwuñ ci kenn.
But in the case of the Gambia and the NIA,
waaye nag su ñëwee ci mbiri Gambia ak NIA bi,
what French will call instrumentalisation,
lii France di wax instrumentalisation,
use, like you said, as a tool,
dañ lay jëfoo jëfandaay
the institution,
di buntu liggéeykaay boobu,
it occurs.
léegi mu xew.
Let's make a comparison between the NSS and the NIA.
bu ñëwee ñu méngale diggante NSS ak NIA.
I served in the NSS.
liggéey naa ci NSS.
We strictly gathered intelligence.
dañ dee dajale ay bataaxel yu mbuut.
and sent it to the head of state.
ñu dal di ko àggale nag ci njiiti réew mi.
and he passed on the orders to the SG.
mu dal di yónnee nag bataaxel boobu ci SG bi.
and decisions were taken.
ñu dal di jël ay dogal.
These were white papers.
lii nag nekk na ay kayit.
researches on the economy.
di seet nag ci mbiri koom-koomi réew mi ak nekki ni nit ñi.
and other things.
ak yeneen i fànn.
but
waaye.
with the NIA.
ak ci NIA nag.
which was created.
nga xam ne ni sos ko nag.
after dissolving the NSS.
gannaaw boo xam ne tasaare nañ NSS bi.
not only new faces came.
nekkul rek ne sax ay kanam yu ees ñoo ñëw.
because most of the old guys in the NSS were.
waaye ñu bëri nag ci NSS bi ñoom joxoon nañ leen liggéey bi.
Yaya Jammeh give it a new function and a new role.
daal Yaya Jammeh daf ko joxoon beneen façon ngi liggéey ak beneen façon ngi warugal.
and in that the NIA was giving much broader powers than the NSS. You agree with that?
ci kaw loolu dafa mel ni NIA dañ leen jox gën a jox doole comme NSS.
Decree 45.
waaw comme ni ki Decree 45.
And no longer was the NIA limited to looking into things that affected the state. The NIA was now given powers to look into things that affected private individuals who resided in the country.
NIA na ñoom emale wuñ woon rek seen mbir ci loo xam ne daf doon xejamal wala kaaraange li nga xam ne moo di réew mi waaye duggoon nañ sax ba ci ay nit ñoo xam ne ñu ngi nekkoon ci biir réew mi seen ay mbir.
non jox nañ NIA doole boo xam ne mën nañoo gestu mbir yoo xam ne laal na nit ñi nga xam ne ñoo dëkk ci réew mi. Those were the extent of the powers. Say for instance, they can look into matters that affected the economic interests of residents in the country. Residents in the country is the word that was used generally in the legislation throughout. Do you agree with that?
I do.
Wow, nanguna.
And
Tait.
We were talking about the character or the personality of the president.
If
you correlate
the
functions as a tool of the NIA or whatever,
everything
was centered around Yaya Jammeh.
yëpp dañ ko jëloon rek séddale ko ci boori Yaya Jammeh.
So in effect, are you suggesting therefore that when the words in the legislation say to investigate matters of significant economic interest of the state of the Gambia or other residents in the country, that phrase, other residents in the country, could have been equated or synonymous to Yaya Jammeh?
That's what I'm coming to say.
Proceed.
This was somebody who was, excuse me, so self-centered. He was egocentric to a level whereby the threat to the security of the state was threat to his life, threat to him, threat to his family, threat to his properties. And he directed everything towards that.
Somebody once wrote that Yaya Jammeh's thinking is my Gambia, my country, my people, my farm, my this, everything was my. He owned us all and the country. Was it like that? Did you see it that way?
Yaya Jammeh xalaatam yëpp mooy suma réew, suma nit ñi, suma nangam lu ci nekk rek daf ko moomale woon boppam ndax yow gisee nga ko noonu.
I told lead counsel.
Wax naa lead counsel ne.
He brought about this fear phenomenon upon the civil service or armed and security forces.
So
as to subjugate them.
Fear
make them obey his orders.
All
times. All purposes. We've come back to the same thing. My this, my that, my that. I said he was egocentric.
May
I give you an example?
Yes, please.
A former ambassador of the United States to the Gambia, Pamela Ann White,
ambassador America Gambia, Pamela Ann White,
requested to pay me a courtesy call in my office.
office.
I directed her to write the necessary note verbal to Foreign Affairs, and they will forward it to President's office.
Foreign Affairs office of the President.
And naturally, Foreign Affairs, President's office would forward it to me. When the note came, he saw it. He approved, of course. But with a note, footnote, that the SG should be present at the meeting. I said, okay. The lady came. I invited my deputy. Invited my principal assistant secretary to take notes. And the SG sent a representative. After the normal diplomatic niceties, we went into business. She proposed assistance, of course, training packages and all that stuff to us. And we thanked her for American assistance and cooperation. Our joint fight against anti-terrorism, trafficking, money laundering, and all that stuff.
Terrorism,
and she was full of praise for young technocrats within the system. She promised further aid. She said it was time to continue working. Let's ignore the man's behaviors, misbehaviors, and just concentrate on the
jot na nag pour ñu liggéey ñu fàtte nag waa ji jikkoom ji nga xam ne ni noonu la dee doxalee.
We agreed and the meeting went well, fine. And
ñu nangu nag meeting bi continuer dem ni mu waree ñu dal di tasaaroo.
I am obliged to write a minute.
cëri woon naa nag pour bind nag li nga xam ne ni moo xew ci meeting bi.
And I sent it upstairs.
ma dal di ko yónnee ci kaw.
Where was upstairs?
fan mooy ci kaw.
His office, to the President's office through the office of the Secretary General.
Office President bi jaaree ko nag ci office Secretary General.
When his minute came down,
bi bindam yi wàccee tontum.
He said,
what did he say?
lan la fa wax.
He said, I will not forget that. The permanent secretary, rather than talk about our successes
permanent secretary bi ndem waxtaan suñu
in infrastructure and other things,
ci mbiri samp ak yeneen.
opened his big mouth,
mu ubbi gémmiñam gu réy gi.
praising the Americans.
di tëgg Americans yi.
I threw the file to my deputy. I said, read that.
ma dal di jox na file bi suma deputy ne ko jàngal li.
ma ne ko yow da nga expect man ma nekk jaliba Yaya Jammeh ci jigéen bi.
You expect me to become Yaya Jammeh's jaliba to
man
this
ma
woman?
toog di wax jaloore Yaya Jammeh ci jigéen bi.
Am I the one who should tell the Yaya Jammeh's history to this woman?
I told my deputy.
ma wax ko suma deputy bi.
That's how he thinks.
moom noonu la dee xalaatee.
It's all about himself.
So I was supposed to have... Pardon. What?
It was all about himself.
Yeah.
Wow.
You had to sing his praises instead of anything else.
Here we are talking about concrete things for the benefit of the country.
But you had to, of course, emphasize he was Babili Mansa. He had done a lot of infrastructural development in the country. That's what was his expectation, wasn't it? But the civil service, we were all basically reduced into sycophancy. All of them praised him everywhere they went. Wasn't that the norm?
Woe betide you if you don't do it.
Mr. Sambou, I understand you even used to wear the asobi, the Jammeh asobi.
Sambou, yek na sax ne yow dang dan sol asobi Yaya Jammeh.
You're a civil servant.
Did.
Could you say again?
Everybody did.
And that's your defense?
No.
It was wrong, wasn't it?
Agreed.
Civil servants work for the government. And the government is neutral. It should not be involved in party politics. And I repeat that for good reason. The government of the Gambia is separate and different from the politics of the country. Civil servants must not be involved in the politics of the country. You agree with that?
I do. May I?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yaya Jammeh ordered for these paraphernalia. Caps.
Yaya Jammeh jël na li nga xamantene ne mo nekk doxalin bi nga xamantene mo doon am ci jamono bobu non.
No, Yaya Jammeh ci bopam mo indi bagage yoyu moy mbaxana yek asobi yek yoyu. Proceed.
And he would send bales of these tissues, materials, to various departments. Free of charge. Prior to the arrival of the date of whichever festivity it was. Who am I? Not to take the 6 or 10 meters my DG brings to me and said, he says we should distribute this to everybody. Go and so.
Well, you could cite the general orders to them.
Yes, at your own peril.
Could you explain what you mean?
You would simply be branded as an anti, as an opposition, as a saboteur, as a subverter, and you go. Send him home. And send him home means once you are out of State House or the gates of the NIA, they are waiting for you.
To take you where?
Where the Akos will say combo left hand. The hotel. No, let's be frank. Apart from that, we've all seen what used to happen in Congo Kinshasa with Mobutu Sese Seko. To go with Ayadema. Everybody will wear all these paraphernalia and be dancing at the airports and everything. This is the norm in Africa. It's African democracy. It's bad. We know. It's wrong.
It is Gambian tragedy. This is what we are talking about.
Accepted. Accepted.
Civil servants were paraded in airports dressed in Yajame Asobi.
But lead counsel, permit me, please, I beg. Apart from agriculture in this country, the government is this, and the civil service is the biggest employer. Every senior civil servant has about 20 mouths to feed in his house. Top of the village. Who would risk losing his job? You have an 80-year-old mom in the house. Nieces and nephews are waiting for their school fees.
So people had to comply.
If there were a choice, lead counsel, you would do it.
And just to save our jobs, I am saying our because I am including all of us in it. To save our jobs, we had to accommodate Yaya Jammeh to be a dictator.
Pour nak ñu mëna dess ci suñ liggéey ñun ñoo taxawal Yaya Jammeh pour mu nekk ko xamné nguuru jaay doole lay doxal ci suñ kaw.
What do you say to that?
Lo am pour wax ci lolu.
Dégg la.
That's true.
Olof ñaane na buur bonu dag ya bon.
The Olaf said that the king is not bad, it's the followers. Ñun
the same, all of us the same, like we are saying.
Ñun ñep comme ni nga waxé ne ñun
are the same people mingling among ourselves,
and
then go behind each other's backs and go and tell him stories, and he starts sucking this one. That's why he used to say what goes around comes around. You made what he was.
And principally the NIA, which was the instrument that drove fear in the hearts of Gambians.
Wow.
And the first test, or rather the second test to Yaya Jammeh's authority was the attacks at Farafenni barracks.
Do
you recall that incident?
It's been a long time, but I can faintly remember after the.
Well, we will help you remember. Farafenye military barracks was attacked by dissidents from Liberia, ostensibly under the direction of Kukoy Samba Sanyang.
ñi nga xam ne ñoo conga bi amoon Farafenni ñi ko defoon mooy ay nit yoo xam ne ñu nga bàyyi kon Liberia di wane ne ñu ngi ko def ci ron ndigali Kukoy Samba Sanyang.
That attack on our security forces
songa bi nga xam ne def nañ ko ci ñi nga xam ne ñoo amee kaaraange réew mi
culminated into the killing of a few Gambian soldiers.
na be ñu rey ci ñoo xam ne ñu néew la ci waa soldaari Gambia.
I should say many in view of the size of our armed forces.
Some
put the number at 8 soldiers were killed at Farafenni. And some of those attackers were captured. Balo Kante, Yaya Drame, Omar Diouf was it Damfa, I think, Omar Diouf Damfa. Those were captured. I think Suleiman Sar as well. Yes. They committed the crime of treason. They committed murder. Very serious crimes against the state. And we all condemned that attack. You recall that incident? Criminal as their conduct was, the perpetrators had rights that were enshrined under the Constitution of the Republic. You agree with that?
I do.
And no matter what they did, they ought to have been processed according to law. You agree? Tell us what happened when they were brought to the NIA for investigation.
They were brutally tortured.
Tortured by who?
Well, you had some soldiers were there. But they were in the then investigation department of
Who did the torturing?
Well,
I think the investigation department was led by Fode Barry. He had assistants. Lamin Jobate was there. Was responsible for prosecution matters. Bawasaho was also there. And a few young boys. I wouldn't remember who. Not unless maybe the list is called out. And
Salmina Drame, was he there?
yes.
Wow.
These were members of the investigations unit. The question is, who did the torturing? Or ñan ñoo def the torturing?
Those that I named here, they were one at the department. If they were there in the investigation department and there was torture, then they were the one?
Mr. Sambou, we are not going to put it like that.
Mr. Sambou,
we have to call a spade a spade. Yax bi mom nañ ko toj.
Okay, let's break it.
Let's hit the nail on the head and stop beating about the bush.
I won't.
You were there as de facto Deputy Director General, correct?
Indeed.
yow yang fa wo nek Director General bi nga xamne mo fa genn.
Ki topon ci Director General.
Indeed.
Wow, deug la.
You saw what was happening.
Yang don gis li don xew.
Most na fa dem gis leen.
I once went there and I saw it.
Not just once, you've been there several times and then you saw what was going on.
Du ben yon yang fa won ay yoni yon te gisoon nga li fa don.
ñaar ñetta several la kon several la.
If at all it's 2 or 3 is several, then it's several.
Well, so demé be am ñetta kañ passé nga couple.
Waaw deug la.
D'accord. So you saw what was going on.
I did.
Le gisoon nga li don dox.
Wa gis nako.
These people were tortured by your colleagues.
Ni sa ay liggéeyandoor ñoo leen doon bugal.
Indeed.
Wow.
Who are they?
Ñan la?
For the bari, as I said.
For the bari, comme ni ma ko waxee. Baba Saho.
Bate.
Jobate.
Which Jobate?
Lamin.
Otherwise known by what other name?
Babanding.
Babanding, lañ ko gëna xamé.
And I think you mentioned another name, I can't remember.
I mentioned Salmina Drame.
Yes.
Was he there?
Salmina Drame la fi.
The whole team was there. I wouldn't remember everybody.
Duma mëna fatale ko ñep.
But the question is, was he there?
He was.
Wow,
did he participate in the tortures?
Bokkon na ci ñi doon def mitital yoy di mbugal nit ñi fofu.
It's been a long time, I wouldn't know, but I presume yes.
Yàgg na de duma mëna xam waaye nag dana wax ne waaw.
You presume or you believe?
Yaakaar nga wala gëm nga ne?
Yes, I believe.
Waaw gëm naa ne.
How about Jim Drame?
Naka Jim Drame nag?
He was part of the team.
Moom it bokkoon na ci kuréel googu.
Part of the torturers?
Bokkoon na ci ñu doon mbugale.
Well, if the others tortured, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't.
Bu fekkee ne ñeneen ñi daldi woon nañu dóor ñooñu moom lu tax du ko def.
Tell us a bit about those tortures.
Wax ñu lu aju ci mitital yooyu nga xam ne moom lañ doon def.
What you saw, Balo Kante, Yaya Drame, Omar Diouf Damfa, and all this.
Li nga gis Balo Kante,
Suleiman
Yaya
Sarr.
Damfa, Omar Diouf Drame, Suleiman Sarr.
Omar Diouf Damfa, Suleiman.
Omar Diouf Damfa ak Suleiman Sarr.
I heard Balo Kante saying that they were severely beaten.
Dégg naa Mballo Kanté di wax ne dañ leen dóor yu métti métti.
In fact, he also said that his nipple was cut off.
Moom sax dal dina wax tamit ne dal dinañu dog li ni am
Ci som bi.
ci som bi.
He particularly mentioned Jobate.
Te tamit daf ci tudd nag Jobaate.
From what you heard Bale Kante say,
Li nga dégg Balo Kante wax ko.
did you notice any lie he said?
Ndax seetlu nga ci kàddu yim fi wax yépp ndax am na ci dara lu mu wax te doonu dëgg.
I would have said he lied about me, but during my tete-a-tete with lead counsel in his office,
Danaa doon mën a wax ne dafa fen ci suma mbir waaye waxtaan wi nga xam ne am naa ko lead and counsel.
and reminded me, and I agreed with lead counsel.
Ci lañ
Yes.
ci biñ waxee nag ci la ma fàttali ne ci laa nangu ne waaw dëgg la.
I definitely, he refreshed my mind and I agree.
Ci la besalaat suma xel nag ci laa nangu.
So you agree that what Bale Kante said was true?
Yes,
Bon
I
nangu
do.
nga ne Balo Kante lim fi wax
Not
dëgg la.
denied.
Waaw dëgg la duma ko weddi.
Like I told lead counsel in his office,
Comme ni ma ko waxee lead counsel ci office am.
it knows it.
Yi nga xam ne ni moo jàkkaarloo mbir mi moo ko xam.
Mohammed Metitam.
Moom moo xamoon méttitam.
Waaye kon dëgg la.
He knows what pains him, so whatever he said is true.
Moko wedi.
I will not deny it.
Balo Kante suggested that you came in, you saw him and the others being tortured, and you did not say or do anything to stop it.
Balo Kante wax na ne yow da nga dugg si fekk moom ak ñeneen ñu ngi leen di mitital di leen mbugal waaye yow waxuloo ci dara pour tere leen.
Yes, it is in the allegation on the notice of
Adverse mention.
adverse mention.
Waaw comme mu ngi ci tuuma yi nga xam ne moom lañ yombali wax.
And I have replied,
Te tontu naa
which I submitted today.
boo xam ne ni àggale naa ko tey.
Yes, of course, you have a right not to incriminate yourself. We remind you of that fact. And what is your answer to this allegation? That you were there, You are Deputy Director General of the de facto Deputy Director General of the NIA. You saw them being tortured. You did or say nothing to stop it.
There, I didn't do anything. It is in my statement.
But I went upstairs.
If you answer out of turn, it may not be captured.
Sorry.
Yes, could you respond now?
There, I did not do anything. But I went upstairs and called the attention of the boss. Those down there were not under me. They are under the big boss, Sambaba. When I called his attention, he looked at me and said I was a coward.
The irony of this whole thing, Mr. Sambou, is that some of these witnesses seem to suggest that whenever you go there, the torture against them seems to intensify.
ñi nga xam ne yëpp ñoo fi joxe seen seede liñ fi wax mooy ne buñ leen dee mbugal di leen mitital noonu yow saa yoo duggasee rek mitit bi dafay gën a tar.
What do you say to that?
loo am pour wax ci loolu.
That's the 5th issue on the adverse mention.
loolu nag mooy juróomeeli bunta boo xam ne ñu ngi ko ci tudda.
Even for Barlow Kante and others, that is the suggestion.
In
fact, they suggested a little more than that. And I'm building up. I'm giving you the opportunity to respond to these things. And
I am responding. I wrote that Damfa and Kante have the right to feel, say what they said. Because they were, at that time, in a very difficult situation. Like I said, who feels it knows it. But I was not supposed to be there and give command to the boys down there. And I told Sambaba, like I said, he said I was a coward. But it was up to him to take a decision as to what I raised or as to the because he was the boss.
But Omar Diouf seems to suggest that you were complicit in their torture.
Omar Diouf mom wax na ne yow bokkon nga sax andon nga ci mitital bu nga xamne mom lañ leen doon def.
I have just said that he has a right to his opinion.
Waaw comme ni ma waxe rek
is either subjective or objective.
Nek na ko xamne ni amna ciir ci li nga xamne ni lool moy xalaatam ak li muy wax.
On the perspective of the individual.
Des na rek ci li nga xamne non la ko waxe mo xam nak.
The information the commission received is that whenever you show up in the torture room, you would say, "Nasaf de, nasafa saf."
Xibaar nga xamne mom la fi commission bi jot moy ñi fi wax nañ ne yow dal sa yu leen di mbugal di leen mitital bo duggassé dal da ngay ne nasafa saf rek.
Those
that knows Harry Sambou know that he is not that type of person.
We have seen quite a lot of characters before this TRRC. Did you or did you not say that?
I don't think I said it. No, I didn't. I don't want to tell a lie. I don't think I did that.
It means you are not sure whether you did or did not.
I would prefer to differ.
That is
to differ, D-I-F-F-E-R, not D-E-F-E-R.
Okay.
I
cannot defer the answer.
Well, to defer it means to push it aside, not to deal with it now. So to differ means to not agree.
Yes.
All right. So you do not agree?
I do not agree.
Well, what don't you agree with? The question is, you said that you're not quite sure. I can't recall the exact words. You said, I think not. I think those were the words you
At the
used.
end of the sentence.
So because you think not.
At the end of the sentence, lead counsel, I said no.
But no matter how it is packaged, it suggests that you are not sure.
But I've just said no, I don't agree.
What don't you agree with?
I have just told you that the Harry Sambou I know is not like that.
Well, we all thought that the people who were recruited in our National Intelligence Agency were not like that. Answer now.
Yes, I know.
So we all thought that they were very decent people who would respect the rights of Gambians. We all thought that those who were doing the torturing of Gambians were foreigners. Lo and behold, these are our own brothers who are torturing us.
People have different backgrounds, different levels of home education.
But you would agree that it is really disappointing and abhorrent that it was us who were torturing one another.
Agreed.
You answer now.
I said agreed.
Yes, the thing is, if you answer out of turn, it's not reflected, because I am watching the screen as we go ahead, so sometimes if you answer out of turn, it's not recorded.
I agree.
So the fact that you say the Harry Sambou I know would not do this is in fact not good evidence before this commission. Because the people we expected, or we thought were doing the tortures, were in fact the people who we least expected would do it. If you look at it, amongst the torturers you have mentioned, let's take them again, name them one by one. First person.
Fodebari.
Second person.
Baba Saho.
Third person.
Lamin Jobate.
Fourth person.
Talmina Drame.
You have a similar background to Baba Dinding Jobate. Legal training, social welfare, NIA. You have just implicated him in torture.
I have mentioned home training. He didn't mention that one.
Home training is not verifiable.
It's okay.
But you can see that even people with the highest level of education, and we would expect decency, you have implicated them in torture.
One, I am not the only one who implicated them. I'm not the first one to have done so.
Of course, we take note of that. You are corroborating the allegations of other people.
Just like others are corroborating the allegations of others against me.
It therefore behoves you to accept the veracity of the allegations against you.
That is why I said it's a long time, I don't remember. Agree.
But isn't this convenient, Mr. Sambou?
I don't agree with him.
Isn't this convenient? You are very able to recollect and corroborate the torture or the allegations of torture by your colleagues, but you cannot remember to accept the areas in which you are implicated in that torture. You choose to think not. You choose not to remember.
I have personally never tortured anybody.
That is a given. The allegation is not that you tortured. We do not have any such evidence. And we apologize if you think that that is the kind of suggestion we are making. But the evidence is you have encouraged. You have encouraged the torturers to do it harder. Nasafasaf.
That's what he said?
Yes. That's what he said. And he who feels it knows it.
Yes. I wouldn't agree with him on that.
But this is the issue here. You are able to recall quite vividly when your colleagues did the torture, but you cannot recollect when you encourage those same colleagues to do the torture. It's like self-preservation.
Wali dafa melni da nga tan dal mun nga fateleku say natango ñom mbugal ak mitital yi nga xamne ñu ko doon tek ñeneen way yow mënulo fateleku yow mi sa bop fekke nga ko ak la nga xamne mom nga ci def pour hital leen ñu gën ko def melni da nga tan li nga fateleku.
No, I wouldn't want to self-preserve myself.
But no matter, well, perhaps maybe I should just read out the law at this stage. The law for amnesty.
Lead counsel, let's draw a conclusion to this.
I'm listening. Please proceed.
If this is the situation, yes.
Not so simple.
Yes, okay, yes.
We are out for the truth.
Yes.
We are not out to get convenient
truth.
No. Convenient arrangements because of the situation. Okay. So that is why I am not prepared to trade certain agreements with the search for the truth. Are you accepting responsibility for these tortures, that you are accused to have been complicit in these tortures as somebody who encouraged the torture? Is that what you are accepting?
Or as the deputy director who was there went and saw witnessed? Deputy director. What you're asking?
These are two things. These are two different strands of responsibility. One is superior responsibility, being Deputy Director General, seeing it happen, you know a crime was being committed, and you did or said nothing to stop, to prevent it.
There, yes. Later I did.
But even when you did later, the tortures didn't stop, they continued. So this first limb, that is responsibility as a superior. Or as a commander, because the NIA had a command structure. So do you agree responsibility on that limb?
I do.
Wow, definitely.
And the other limb for responsibility is you encouraging the torture. One of the victims said that whenever you come, the tortures intensify because you would say, nasaf de, nage nasaf.
Sa yo duga se rek mitit bi dafa gëna tar ndax dang leen di wax ne ñu yokka mitit bi na saf mu gëna safa saf.
Do you deny that?
Weddi nga loolu.
Or do you accept it?
Ndax nangu nga.
It's difficult to
dana jafe pour
agree with him, but I accept.
Nangu ak mu ànd ak moom waaye nag nangul naa ko.
I accept.
The commission will have had your answer, and the commission would draw whatever conclusions that is to be drawn in this.
I hope so, but I agree.
Mr. Chair, may I proceed? You satisfied with that answer? Thank you. Perhaps maybe, well, it's 18 minutes past 4. Up to what time should I be expected to stop? Because we can't finish today. Mr. Sambou, you want to say something?
No, I was just suggesting that we can continue till 5.
But let's leave it to the commissioners to decide. Yes.
Please proceed.
Up to what time do I have?
7 p.m.
Well, I'll be happy to go till 7 p.m., Mr. Chair.
Please go on a little bit more. Without giving me time, when you get tired, you tell me.
No, the rest assured, I won't get tired. Yeah, I can go on till midnight.
Let's go on. Let's go on.
Your executive secretary is suggesting 5 p.m.
Let's go on.
All right, okay, we proceed. I would stop when the chair asks
Thank you.
Stop.
Go on, please.
All right, thank you. These people were not, we talked about the methods of torture that was used on them. Apart from the beating, could you recollect what other methods of torture was used on them?
I heard Balo talking about plastics.
Plastic.
And what about the plastics?
What plastic you look more than?
They were being burnt on them.
What money dañ lak plastic yo ci sen kaw?
Do you recollect seeing this happen or learning about this happening to them?
Batele ko nga yow nga gis ko wala nga yek ne lolu mu ngi len don dal.
Yek na ko.
Yes, I was aware.
Balo was truthful.
Balo wax na deug bon.
Who feels it knows it.
Kiko yek rek moko xam.
But answer the question, was Balo truthful?
Yes, in that sense, yes.
In the real sense, was he truthful?
Yes. He was.
He also talked about electrocution.
Yes, I heard about it.
As far as you know, who did these tortures, the burning with plastic and the electrocution?
I think what I heard Balo said. Ode and Baba.
Now let us not talk about what you heard from the victim. Let's talk about what you know to have happened as de facto Director General at the NIA at that time.
Legi nañ faté li nga xamné mom nga dégg sédé bi wax yow ci sa wali xam-xam li nga xam comme ka ya nekkon ki topa ci Director General bi lo xam ci mbir momu.
Who was doing the tortures?
Ñan ñoo doon def mitital.
Those tortures, the electrocution and the burning with liquid plastic.
Mitital yoy ñan ñoko doon def di sokkurangi ci sen kaw ak di jël lakambusi di len ko toxal.
I I presume the same guys that we mentioned before.
Are you avoiding to mention their names?
The same Baba, the same Masalmina, the same
Baba,
Jim, the same.
Jim.
Who else? Yes.
Let's take it step by step. Nailera. Mention the names. Number 1.
Baba Saho. Fode Bari. Jobate. Salmina. Jim.
So, Salmina, what's his last name?
Salmina num santa.
Drame.
Jim, what's his last name?
Jim num santa.
I think also Drame.
Jim Mani Fogna Moy Drame.
Baba, what's his last name?
Saho.
Lamin, what's his last name?
Jobate.
And Fode, what's his last name?
Bari.
These were the people who were doing those tortures. You mentioned that you talked to Samba Ba.
Yes, I did.
About the tortures. Where is Samba Ba now?
He's late, he's deceased.
So, do you have any other person to corroborate your suggestion that you talk to the DG against these tortures?
Am nga keneen ku mun a wéral sa kàddu yi nga wax ne wax nga directeur général bi lu aju ci mitital yi nga xam ne moom la fa doon def.
No, I don't, because my discussions with Sambaba were private. He was my boss, and when I go into his office, I knock, I enter, he closes the door.
Déedéet amuma ko
and I leave.
da suma waxtaan ak Samba Ba yëpp mooy suma boss la dafa nekk loo xam ne man ak moom rek la su ñëwee mu tëj bunta bi ñu waxtaan ma génn.
In essence, the only person who would have corroborated your defense that you objected to this is someone who is normal.
Yes.
Melni da kenn ka am ne moo mun a wéral sa kàddu yooyu rek nit la koo xam ne léegi ndam si yàlla la dundatul.
But nonetheless, you accept responsibilities on two limbs of responsibility. One is superior responsibility, the other is encouragement.
I do.
waaye ba léegi nangu nga daal ne li nga xam ne moom lañ la teg ne moom nga def nangu nga ko ci ñaari fànn yépp yow kilifa nga nekk fa ba pare nekk nga koo xam ne ànd nga ci liñ doon def.
Could you respond now?
I said I do.
Wow, def nangu naa.
Okay, let's then move on to another issue.
léegi ñu jàll ci beneen mbir.
No, perhaps I should stick with this for a little while. There were soldiers who were also present at some point during these tortures.
amoon na ay soldaar yoo xam ne léeg-léeg jamono joo xam ne dina ñuy fekkee mbugal yi nga xam ne moom la ñoo teg nit ñi foofu.
Do you recall?
fàttale ko nga.
Yes, Samsudin Sar was mentioned.
Waaw, Samsudin Sar tudde nañ ko ci.
Do you recollect him being there?
fàttale ko nga moom mu ngi fa.
When these rebels were first brought in from Farafenni,
jamono bi nga xam ne ci lañ indi rebel yi ci njëlbeen ci place bi.
all came down to see who they were.
ñëpp dañ ñëw pour seet ñan lañ.
And at that stage, these guys were being tortured.
te jamono boobu ñooñu ñu ngi leen doon mbugal di leen mitital.
Correct?
dëgg la.
Confirmed.
dëgg la.
You answering out of thought.
They confirmed.
Because this is a record that is being kept here. We don't want there to be a confusion as to whether the witness answered or did not answer.
Yes, they confirmed.
So these people were present, Samsudin Sar and others were present, while these rebels were being tortured.
Samsudin Sar ak ñee ñu nga teewoon jamono yi nga xam ne ñu ngi doon mitital rebel yooyu foofu.
Yes.
Wow.
Good. Do you know whether any one of those soldiers participated in the torture in one way or another?
Ndax xam nga ndax kenn ci soldaar yooyu bokkoon nañ ci mitital yi nga xam ne moom lañ fa doon teg ñooñu ci nu mun a demee.
Sar did.
Could you say again?
I said I think Sar did.
yaakaar naa Sar def na ko.
What do you recall him do?
loo fàttale ko loo xam ne Sar def na ko.
Exactly, definitely I wouldn't recall.
mu ne ma mënuma fàttale ko lan la def ndax loolu yàgg na.
Had it not been for Mbalo's accusation of me, I wouldn't have remembered.
Suduto nak Mbalo limma tuumal sax duma ko fataleku.
Did you just sort this out of your memory?
Oh, no. Well, I'm reminded. The things are coming back. It's been years.
I have to
be frank. I have to be frank.
Your recollection is that SAR participated. Would you answer now?
Yes.
Wow.
What recollection do you have of what he may have done?
I don't
know. I don't know.
What is your basis for saying that he participated? You must have something in your mind which would tell you that he participated.
It's difficult.
Definitely.
I'm very sorry.
It cannot be just a guesstimate. You must have something in your mind to tell you that this person participated. You must have seen him do something in order to be able to suggest that he participated in torture.
Beating?
Dore?
Did you see him beat?
I think I did.
You think, you know, you saw.
I wouldn't know without seeing.
Of course.
Yes.
That's why, so when you know, it's not just you think.
You
know. Did SAR beat one or more of the rebels? Or he did not?
I think he did.
Balo Kante. He said that Samsidin Sarr kicked him with his boots. He stamped him, he trampled upon him. He also beat him with his fist. And somebody he could recall as Babukar Jata grabbed him and stopped him. Is Balo Kante lying?
I don't think so.
Is Balo Kante speaking the truth?
I'm inclined to believe.
It's very well nuanced, Mr. Sambou. It's very well nuanced. With all those qualifications, what is the truth? No, wahji lerut nañ. Amna garal yuñ ci garal yo xamne dafa tax nit ki du xam liñ ci jublu lepp lan la. Nañ ko leral bem leer nañ. Comme ni olof di wax rek ñu toj yax bi su ko defé feñal lepp. Balo Kante lim wax dëgg la ndax du dëgg?
Wana dëgg.
He said the truth.
Could you answer now?
Wana dëgg.
Yes, it's true.
Thank you very much. Now, let us move to, perhaps a little. What was happening there? You are trained in the law, Mr. Sambou. What was happening there with these these rebels who unlawfully attacked the Parafenye barracks and unlawfully killed some Gambian soldiers?
Mr. Sambou, yow jàng nga loi lan mooy li nga xam ne moo doon xew ci rebel yooyu nga xam ne dañ songa Farafenni te jaarale wuñ ko ci loi am ñoo xam ne rey nañ leen te jaarut ci loi.
Was what was the or were the acts happening at the NIA at that time lawful?
Li nga xam ne moo doon xew foofu ca NIA ndax ànd na ak loi.
They did. No.
No.
Why do you say that?
In State Council's introduction of this issue,
State Council,
he said these rebels' rights were enshrined in the Constitution. Defended in the Constitution. Which means they had rights. And they could have been respected.
Could have been or ought to have been?
Yes.
They ought to have been
respected. To have been respected. But were not respected.
And do you know that Yaya Drame died as a result of the severe beating he received at the NIA?
Ndax xam nga ne Yaya Drame faatoo mu ngi sosoo ci miti dóor yu métti yi nga xam ne moom lañ ko def foofu.
May I please ask where he died? In the hospital, in mile 2 at the NIA?
And
when after which time did he pass away?
He died in mile 2.
Mile 2 la dee.
Soon afterwards.
Can council please let me know how many days, what time, the length of time?
I don't know exactly the date, but here I have a human rights a report on, I think it's by Amnesty International.
Xawma bés bi nag waaye am na xibaar goo xam ne bàyyeekoo na ci amee ak yelleefi doomu aadama yaakaar naa ba tey
of 2nd December 1997.
ñu ngi ko bindoon ñaari fan December 1997.
And it's entitled
te liñ ci wax mooy
The Gambia
Gambia
Democratic Reforms Without Human Rights.
wécceeku ci wàllu doxin démocratie te àndalewuñ ko ak yelleefi doomu aadama.
And I'm looking on page 4 of the report. It talks about human rights violations since the elections. And in paragraph 3 of the report, it says in May 1997, one person died in custody, apparently as a result of torture. Yaya Drame had been held at Banjul's Mile 2 prison since an attack by armed men on the Gambia's second largest military camp at Farafenni, some 100 kilometers east of Banjul, in November 1996.
Conga bo xamne defon nañ ko ci ñaareeli béréb bo xamne dëkk bu màggala ci Gambia mu xewon ci atum 19.
He was under constant medical care when he died in May.
Mom nak ci lon faj go xamne mom lañ ko doon faj bu tar bo xamne ñu ko doon fajé jamono bi mo faatu.
So he died a few months thereafter.
Dafa melni ay wër yu néew dal gannaaw. ci la gaañu.
Are you aware of this?
Yëg nga loolu.
I heard about one of them who died. I don't know who it was.
dégg naa kenn ci ñoom ne dee na waaye xamatu woon kan la.
Would you say that the torturers are responsible for manslaughter?
Ndax di nga mën a wax ne ñi nga xam ne ñoo doon def mitital yooyu ñoom ñoo waral faatu gi.
Rey nañ nit.
Lead counsel, I'm not a common law lawyer.
Lead counsel man nekkuma ab lawyer.
I have a background in law, which
am
is
naa
non-common law.
ci loi.
Well, you did not ask me time just in the blue. You asked me about the time frame within which the person died, because you are recalling from the law that you learned that for there to be a case of murder, the person has to have died within 1 year of the act that caused death.
waa li ma laaj ñoonu nag ne ban waxtu diggante mitital gi ak ba moo dee diir bi ñaata la toll laajuloo ma ko rek sa xalaati bopp danga ma ko laaj ndi xam nga ne luwaa bi balaa nangu ne loolu mooy sabab bi na nekk ne borom dafa war a faatu ci diiri benn at bi loolu tax nga
su ko defee ñu mun a wax ne daf ko rey ci anam bu ñuy ooyee mooda mooy nga faat nit ki fekk nga bugg a koo faatu nga bugg a jël bakkanam.
Isn't lead counsel pushing it down my throat?
Lead counsel ni ko yàlla ci suma problem.
Law thing.
I don't want to put it through your throat. I am just throwing a proposition. It's for you to accept or deny the proposition.
man na bëgguma la forcer pour nga wax ko waaye nag dama la ko tegal rek nga nangu wala nga bañ a nangu.
You of course know what is the crime of murder.
ndaxte xam nga li nga xam ne moo di yaxaluwa bi nga xam ne moo nekk ci mbiri rey nit te tey ko.
In this particular case, I say at least, at minimum, it's a case of manslaughter.
ci jamono ji mun naa wax ne mbiri rey nit la boo xam ne danga ko rey te jubluwuloo ko ci woon.
You agree?
nangu nga.
Please proceed, Mr. Sam.
Yes, I do.
Wow, nangu na.
You agree that this is a case of manslaughter?
nangu nga ne lii nga rey la boo xam ne dañ rey borom te jubluwuñ ci woon rey ko.
Yes.
Wow.
Could you answer now, please?
I said yes.
Would you answer again?
I said yes.
Mane wow.
Thank you very much. So now let's, Mr. Chair, perhaps I would at some stage put in this document, the Amnesty International document I'm referring to.
I thought it was submitted way back at some point.
Not the Amnesty report.
That's the Amnesty, not the report, or
not this Amnesty report.
Okay, there was
yes, there are several because these are annual reports.
Fine.
All right. Okay, so I now have to put in two documents, but I will do that at the end.
Sure. And you have maybe now 5-10 minutes to wind up if you want to.
5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now, of course, torture became a culture at the NIA. Would you agree?
Léegi ay mbugal ak mitital yoo xam ne ñu ko doon def loolu moom luñ aada woo daan def la rek ci NIA.
Yes, I do.
Waaw nangu naa.
Why do you think that these tortures were taking place?
Lan moo tax nga foog ne mbugal ak mitital yi sax ñu ko daan def foofu?
Please come again.
Why do you think these tortures were taking place? What was the objective? What was the reason, the ratio d'etre for these tortures?
Lan moo woon jubluwaay bi tax ñu daan jël mitital yi di ko teg nit ñi foofu ca NIA?
Like I said,
comme ni ma ko waxee.
President Jammeh, he liked seeing people suffer.
Yaya Jammeh dafa nekkoon koo xam ne bu bëggoon nit ñi di torox di gis nit ñi torox.
And
Kate,
are you suggesting he was a sadist?
I'm coming. He enjoyed seeing people suffer.
daf daan bànneexu pour daan gis nit ñi di torox.
And begging him or pleading with him,
wala di ko ñaan di jégalu ci moom.
he deducted as a sign of weakness.
dafay gis ne loolu daal ak yoxam la.
And he hardly believed anybody, trusted anybody.
te du daan óolu kenn.
Even if you bring somebody to him and say, well, we've spoken to the person, yes.
Même sa soo indi nit ne ko kii wax nañoo ak moom.
Admitted.
mu nangu.
He would say no.
dana wax ne déedéet.
He doesn't believe.
gëmut ko.
The only way he thinks you can get the person to talk is to extract.
ni mu yaakaar ne mooy pour nga def nit ki mu wax mooy dangay génne dëgg ci moom.
So
we missed something.
He would have to extract the truth from the person.
foog nga génne dëgg ci waaj ci moom.
Extraction
ci forcé
was in place of obtaining.
loolu nag la dal di yoon teg nag ci joxe nga jot ko ci coogareem.
Interesting choice of words, Mr. Sambou.
ni nga tànnee sa ay kàddu Mr. Sambou.
Extraction.
Yes.
mooy pour génnee ci moom.
Instead of obtaining,
yes.
Or abstention.
Yes.
am ci moom.
Yes.
In your statement,
ci kàddu yi nga xam ne moom nga binda.
you described it in other language.
danga ko wax ci beneen anami làkka.
They extorted confessions out of people instead of obtaining confessions.
That is true.
Let
me please let's replace the extraction with extortion.
These are very strong words, Mr. Sambou.
Yes, because like I said, the boss did not accept. He could not accept persuasion. He thought everybody there should be a show of power. So that he was the one up there, one, and two. The person had to be, what do I say?
Maltreated,
yes.
Brutalized,
yes.
Bullied.
In order to, one, subjugate the person, two, get the person to cooperate, you know, and for you to go and face him with a file and say, sir, we have spoken to the guy, he has voluntarily written his statement, and this is, he wouldn't listen to that. In fact, he would think that you have come there not only to beg for the person, but maybe you know him or you are negotiating. And he would say, you want to replace him? And he would be in a funny position. So that culture, give him VIP treatment, that culture developed, metamorphosed, in order to harden not only the agents or the, but to make everybody feel once you are in there.
Strong words again. That culture
metamorphosed
and made these agents hardened. These are your words.
They are my words.
So the culture or torture became a policy of the NIA in order to secure information that Yaya Jammeh wanted from those who threatened his authority. Would you agree with that?
Dafa melni mbugal ak mitital lol aada la bo xamne rek daf daan dox NIA pour mëna jëlé ci ñoom Yaya Jammeh li nga xamne mom la soxla ci ay nit ñoo xamne dañ xeeb li nga xamne mo di ay kàddoom.
Yaya Jammeh would give personal orders.
Yaya Jammeh daf di joxe ndigali boppam.
And he would follow up on each individual case.
Ci case bu wax bu nekk.
Orders like what?
The VIP treatment.
Ay toroxal VIP treatment.
What is VIP treatment? What does it mean?
And the tortures.
Dóor ak ay métital.
So you saying Yaya Jammeh would personally give these orders?
Da nga ne Yaya Jammeh mom ci bopam mo daan joxe ndigal yoyu nonu.
Would you answer now?
Yes.
Wow.
Have you ever had personal first-hand knowledge of Yaya Jammeh ordering torture?
Yow ndax mus nga gis yow sa bopay sa wàlli xam-xam Yaya Jammeh di joxe ndigal yi pour ñu def ay mitital ci kaw ñooñu.
I have not, but I know it has happened.
Mosuma ko fekke waaye nag am naa ne dana daan am.
Now let us deal with 2006.
Léegi nag ñu jëm ci mbiri atum 2006.
On 20 March 2006, you are Director of Operations at the IEC.
Ñaar fukki fan ci atum 2006 weeri March yaa nekkoon Director Operations ci IEC.
By 22nd March 2006, you became new Director General of the NIA.
Ñaar fukki fan ak ñaar weeri March 2006 nga ñëw nekk Director General bu bees bi ci NIA.
Tell us what happened.
Wax ñu lu xew.
How it happened.
Naka la xewee.
I was Director of Operations at the IEC preparing for the budget for the forthcoming elections in September.
My kilifa gi saytu lu jëm ci wàlli doxalini Independent Electoral Commission di muntu liggéeykaay bi saytu mbiri àtte bi di waajal nag lu jëm ci njëliñ dog ci mbiri wote bi dégmal si.
And I got a telephone call from State House to go and answer.
Ma am telephone call bu jógee ko ca State House ne ma dem uyu ji.
So I went.
Ma dem.
And was summoned to the Secretary General's office.
Ñu daldi ma yóbbu na ci office Secretary General bi.
At the time it was Sambou Njie.
Time boobu Sambou Njie la.
And he sat me down and said, "Wait for me."
Mu tooga mu teg ma mu ne ma xaar ma.
Came in and out, and said, "Come."
Mu dugg ak génn fe bu jegi mu ne ma kaay ma dugg ci office am.
That I have orders for you.
Ci la ma wax ne am naa ndigal ci pour yow.
Orders, he said. Yes, I said, "What orders?"
Ndigal bu mel naka.
He said, "HE has instructed that you go and take over."
Mu ne His Excellency President bi joxe na ndigal nga dem jël NIA. Ma ne ko lan.
Yes, sir. Sit down and wait for your letter.
Mu ne ma tooga nga xaar sa letter bi.
So I sat.
Who was he referring to as HE?
His Excellency Yaya Jammeh. Then.
Yaya Jammeh booba.
So I sat down.
Ma toog.
After some time, my letter came.
Loolu nag suma letter bi aksi.
What did the letter say?
Letter of appointment is acting appointment.
Letter boo xam ne nii mooy ne tànn nañ ma ci maqaama mi.
Take over as acting Director General of the NIA with immediate effect.
Pour ma nekk nag di xamtu ni ci boppi NIA ci ni mu gën a gaawee.
And this would be your second coming.
Second.
Bi mooy ñaareelu yoon nga ñëw fa.
Second.
Ñaareel bi waaw.
So I went and reported to the chairman IEC. So this is the letter.
Wan ko kii borom kër yi buntu liggéeykaay Independent Electoral Commission ne ko li mooy letter bi.
What do we do? I said, I don't know.
Mu ne ma léegi nag lu ñuy def ma ne ko xaw ma.
So I started.
Well, who was the Director General at the IEC at the time?
The chairman.
Kan moo nekkoon
Chairman, I meant to say.
Late Ndondi Njie.
Late Ndondi Njie, ndem si Yàlla Ndondi Njie.
So I shuttled for about 2 weeks between IEC and the NIA.
Ci diggante boobu nag maa jaabante lu dem si ñaari bés yooyu diggante IEC ak NIA.
Until I finally resigned from the
ba mujjantal daal ma noppal suma bopp liggéey ci IEC.
And took over at the NIA.
Ma daal di jël nag NIA.
Something must have precipitated this move, your sudden appointment as Director General.
Yes.
At the NIA.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
I was informed there and then that there was an abortive coup. And
amna coup d'état boo xam ne moo doon am waay fanq nañ ko.
And the then Director General Marena was involved.
Te booba ki nga xam ne moo ko jiite woon di Marena daf ci bokkoon.
And he was removed.
Te génne nañ ko fa.
That's all.
Loolu la.
Were you given any particular tasks? Any particular directives?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Tell us.
A panel of investigation was supposed to have been formed to interview all those arrested and detained in connection with the abortive coup.
And who were to be members of the panel?
Officers from various armed and security forces formed a panel.
Who selected the members?
I think Lang Tombong did in collaboration with the president then. Lang Tombong Tamba, then Chief of Defense Staff.
President bi nga xamne jamono bo mo jité soldat yi réew mi.
How do you know that?
He came to tell me.
Momako wax.
Who told you?
Lang Tombong.
Lang Tombong.
So Lang Tombong Tamba and the president set up, basically, they chose the members of the panel.
Lang Tombong Tamba ak president bi ñom ñoo tan ñi nga xamne ñoo wara bokk ci kurel kilifa yoy nonu.
Yes. Well, you are to be the head of the NIA.
Yow ya nekkon jité ki nga xamne mo jité NIA.
Was the NIA represented in the panel?
Ndax NIA amna ku len téwal ci kurel gogu.
Wow.
Yes.
Who was the person?
Kan la won?
The Deputy Director General Mamadou Haidara.
Ki topon ci ki jité NIA Mamadou Haidara.
How was he selected to be in the panel?
Naka lañ tanné Mamadou Haidara mom pour mu bokk ci kurel gogu?
He was nominated by the then CDS Lang Tombong Tamba.
Ki di CDS Lang Tombong Tamba moko tannon.
As the new Director General of NIA, did you have to approve that appointment?
Comme que yow ya nekkon Director General bu bes bi ci NIA ndax tan bobu ñu ko tan yow dang ko warona nangu pour ñu tan ko ci?
No, I did not have to approve.
Orders
came from above.
What was to be the role of the NIA, or your role as Director General? What was to be your role in this investigation panel?
Ci kurel go nga xamne ñom lañ tannon pour ñu def gëstu bobu yow mi lan mo ci won sa cër?
The panel was to have been housed in the premises of the NIA.
Panel bi seen wax liggéey yépp dañ ko warona defé ci biir NIA
because there was a hall in upstairs in the main yard.
Amon na ben hall bu nekkon ci kaw.
That was like a conference room.
Bo xamne ni mu ngi melni conference room.
And it had enough space.
Amna nak place bu doy.
So he gave instructions that the proceedings take place there.
So ci la ci jox ndigal nak ne jotay bobu nak nañ ko defé ci fofu.
And of course, by HE, you mean?
Yeah, Jame.
Yeah, Jame.
Who selected the various, first of all, tell us the various components of that panel. You said it was to be comprised with members of various security institutions. Tell us where were they derived from?
wax ñu kuréel googu noonu ñi nga xam ne ñoo fa teewoon dëgg la wax nga ñu ne ñu ngi leen tànnee ci ay bunti kaaraange ci bari ci réew mi fii waaye wax ñu fan lañ leen jëlee.
It was chaired by the Deputy Director General.
ki ko jiite woon mooy Deputy Director General bu NIA Modou Haidara.
Policemen.
am na ay police.
Members of the military security military intelligence.
ñi nga xam ne ni nekk police soldats yi nga xam ne ni ñoo nekk ci buntu xerewlu ci soldat gi.
Yes.
So you'd have NIA, police and army.
Yes.
léegi am nga fa NIA am fa police am fa soldat yi.
But of course you also had GRTS.
waaye am nga fa GRTS.
Yes, I came to find out.
waaw ci lañ yëg ne.
The evidence received by the Commission is that this panel comprised of investigators, statement takers, torturers, and recorders of forced confessions. Would you agree?
xibaar gi ñu fi jot mooy ñi nga xam ne ñoo nekkoon ci panel boobu mooy ñi nga xam ne ñoo doon def mbiri gëstu yi ñi nga xam ne ñoo doon jël xibaar yi ci ñooñu di ko binda ak ñi nga xam ne ñoo doon def mitital yi ak ñi nga xam ne sax ñoo doon jël di ko nataal.
Rightly so.
waaw noonu la.
You agree that this was the arrangement?
nangu nga ne noonu lañ ko tëralee woon.
Positive.
waaw.
We have received evidence from Alaji Martin
amna xibaar yuñ fi jot yu bàyyeekoo ci Alaji Martin
to say that
mu ne
the suspects were brought in,
ñi nga xam ne ñoom lañ tuumaal noonu dañ leen indi.
They are questioned.
ñu laaj leen.
If they do not answer satisfactorily,
fekkee ne tontu wuñ tontu bi nga xam ne moom lañ bëgg a ñu tontu leen.
they are taken out.
dañ leen di génnee.
The junglers would beat the truth out of them.
Junglers dañ leen dóor pour ñu wax dëgg gi.
Or the confessions out of them.
wala boog ñu wax li nga xam ne moom lañ wax ne loolu lañ def.
They would be brought back before the panel.
ñu delloo si waat leen ci kanami kuréel googu.
They will confess.
du ko defee ñu daal di wax.
And they would be later taken before the cameras of GRTS record their confessions on video.
bu ko defee nag ñu dal di leen jël nag yóbbu leen ci kanami caméra GRTS yi bu ko defee nag ñoom ñu wax li nga xam ne moom lañ wax ne moom lañ def.
Was that the system?
noonu la doon doxee.
It's true, I heard him testifying here.
noonu la dégg naa ko bi muy ñëw fi di gaaral ay kàddum.
And what is your view about what he said?
yow nag li mu wax noonu naka nga ko gisee.
Would you answer now?
It's true.
dëgg la.
Is that the reason why in your statement you said that evidence was extorted out of these witnesses, or evidence was coerced out of these witnesses and not obtained?
ndax loolu mooy wane ne li nga xam ne mooy kàddu yi seede yooyu doon wax noonu dañ leen doon forcé dugal ko ci ñoom pour mun a am kàddu yi ci ñoom waaye nekkut ne rek kàddu la yoo xam ne dañ ko jëlee noonu rek ci ñoom ñu joxe ko.
nekkut kàddu yoo xam ne ñoo ko waxal seen boppa jëlee ko seen coobare dañ leen ko forcé ba soxi ko ci ñoom dañ leen mbugal bañ wax loolu. Is that the reason why you said that in your statement?
Yes, that is the reason.
waaw loolu moo tax ma wax ko.
Mr. Chair, one last question before we adjourn for the day. Those who appeared before the commission were tortured to give the confessionary statements that they gave.
Yes.
ñi nga xam ne ñoo feeñ ci kanami commission bi dañ leen mitital pour ñu wax kàddu yi nga xam ne moom lañ joxe foofu.
Panel, they were tortured before they gave the confessionary statements they gave to the panel.
Kanami panel bi.
Yes.
Wow, dëgg la.
Please proceed.
I have written in my statement
bind naa ci suma kàddu yi
that following the establishment of the panel and the bringing in of the detainees to question them,
toftal sos ak panel boobu noonu ak di indi ñi nga xam ne ni ñoom lañ tuumaal.
Initially, it used to be during the day.
ca njëlbeen dañ ko doon def ci bés bi.
And seemingly everything went well during the day.
ci jamono boobu nag lépp daf daan jaar rek yoon ci jamono bés bi.
During working hours.
ci jamono liggéey.
But after working hours, I would go home.
waaye nag gannaaw liggéey dama dee ñibbi juróom-ñaari waxtu yi.
Apparently,
ci gannaaw loolu.
detainees were brought in late in the night.
ñu leen daan indi guddi.
by the junglers.
di junglers yi.
some in civilian clothes.
ñenn ñi nag ñuy sol civilian clothes yére civil.
some in their uniform.
ñenn ñi di sol uniform.
I heard some of them were black. That's when I found out who they are.
ñuul kukk lañ daan sol.
And they were maltreated and tortured in the premises of the NIA.
toroxal métital leen ci place NIA bi
up to early morning hours.
ba ci jamonoy suba.
and taken back to Mile 2.
ñu dal di leen yóbbuwaat Mile 2.
I would only know
fi ma koy xamee rek.
when I came in the morning.
mooy su ma ñëwee si suba gi.
and the security guards will tell me.
ñi garde ci bunta bi ñu wax ma ko.
The first 2-3 occasions.
ñaar ñetti jotaay yooyu.
I was to give briefings to HE, His Excellency.
waxal nag His Excellency.
And I told him.
te ma wax ko.
I said, I heard some detainees are being beaten.
te dégg naa ne am na ñoo xam ne ñi jàpp ni dañ leen di dóor.
He giggled.
dafa yëngal bopp bi.
Muré.
He giggled.
Muré.
I just looked at him. He said,
"Oh,
tell them to cooperate."
Were you being ordered to torture people to confess?
I didn't implement that order.
The question is, Mr. Sambou, were you at that stage being ordered to torture these detainees to confess?
The
inference was that I didn't implement that order. I just went back to my office.
We would come to all that tomorrow. Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, that would be it for today.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Council. Mr. Sambou, you weren't when you didn't carry out that unlawful order to torture, where you tortured yourself.
Never.
We were told earlier on that when orders were given to torture and those orders not carried out, the fear was there that they themselves, those who did not want to carry out the orders, would be tortured. Were you or were you never tortured?
I have never been touched.
You have never tortured anybody?
I have never tortured anybody and I have never been touched.
Fine. When we going to come back tomorrow, do you have any more samples in your bag of notations by Jame on memorandum sent to him? The one that you showed us is very, very scanty. You couldn't tell the context of what Yaya was replying to in a very angry way. We couldn't read even that writing. You were the one trying to explain that. Sorry, interpreter, I'm just going on. But if you have more examples, bring, if you can help us with that.
Bu fekkee ne ëllëg booy ñëw am nga yeneeni firnde yoo xam ne mel na ni biñ fi wane sànq mel ni Yaya Jammeh boo leen bindee dara ba indi ko ci moom ay kàddu yu ñàkk teggin yi nga xam ne moom la dee binda ci kaw kayit boobu am na boo ñu fi woon tey na waaye leerut loon yow sax yaa ñu ko mënoon a leeralal bu fekkee ne am nga beneen bu gën a leer bi su ëllëgee booy ñëw ndax mi ngi ko mën a indi waale.
Please allow me to search through, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Our obligation is to create an impartial historical record. To take that memo that you gave us, and then all the things that you say, he's erratic, he's this, he's that, we need to be fair to him and see the context in which he was reacting, rather than reach a conclusion that this is coming from a madman or an erratic fellow.
waaye ñun nag fii amul benn parparloo boo xam ne daal moom lañ fee mun a doxal loolu moo tax bu fekkee ne war nañ koo tuumaal jikko ñàkk a teggin ak mbir yu mel noonu nga xam ne mu ngi ko doon def dafa war a fekk nag ñu am lu leer loo xam ne am nañ ko ci moom lu ko mooy nag dafa mel ni niñ ko war a jàppee moom jàppee wuñ ko noonu loolu moo tax ñu bëgg lu leer loo xam ne ci la ñoo sukkandiku.
Even the devil is entitled to fair treatment. Council, you have a point of order to raise.
Yes, I have asked. I had asked the investigators to put together a collection of such minutes. So we would, at some stage, have to put them in through an investigator, because to call the heads of the various departments would be difficult. But we can put them in through an investigator, and we can do it as early as tomorrow if the chair is interested, just so that whilst we are on this same topic, we could deal with it, and you can have a flavor of some of the minutes Yaya Jammeh would write to the staff in government.
That should be very helpful indeed. Thank you, Council. We will, Witness, you have something to say before we close for the day?
I'm all right. I'm quite all right.
Thank you very much. Well, I hope you all have a restful evening. And the Council, again, thank you so much. I ask you to stay and then go on. It seems as if you can go on now until...
happy to go on. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. We'll meet tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock sharp. Thank you.